Hey crafters, it's me, Jen Evers with Quality Crafts, and welcome to a Free Play Friday. I'm just going to double check because of last night that my mic is still on and set to go. You guys can hear me okay. Hello to Susan, W. Bailey, Crafty Chick, and Sassy Crafter. Hello! Patricia and Glenna and Pam. If everyone can hear me okay, then I'm going to start off by saying hello to everybody and welcome you to the Free Play Friday. As I said, if you're new to my channel, Free Play Friday is where we learn new techniques and card folds and different things like that, mostly paper and scrapbooking kind of art. I try to make my tutorials as easy as can be so that anybody from beginner through advanced can follow along and get excited about the techniques and stuff that we do. Hello, Sandy! So we're going to be starting a new series tonight called Alcohol Inks and Yupo Paper. And the reason why I mentioned that, and specifically in the title, is because those are the two things that go together really, really well. Excellent. I'm super glad that everything's ready to go. Hello, Heaven Sent. So let me go back to what was I saying now? What we're doing tonight. Now, I'm going to start. The title I actually put in was Alcohol Inks and Yupo Paper #1 because it's a series, and DIY Alcohol Inks and Alternative Products. I want to start out by letting everybody know, especially those of you who are either on a budget or are worried that this is going to be really super expensive. We're going to go through right away the alternative supplies that you can make or DIY at home so that you can try this out right away for yourselves and not have to spend a lot of money. I am going to preface it by saying it's completely addicting, it's super fun, and the alcohol inks and the Yupo paper are like the best together. I'm not gonna lie. If you can only afford a little bit, then go ahead and get yourself a 3-pack. Just a 3-pack. Try to get like 3 of the primary colors, blue, yellow, and red. Because if you do that, you'll be able to mix them and make all kinds of other colors. And then you won't feel like you won't feel gypped because you don't have a ton of colors. But you don't have to go out and buy a whole supply of them right away. Even though I definitely bought a bunch of them. So grab your drink. This is going to be really fun. I'm drinking Canada Dry ginger ale tonight. No caffeine, no diet Mountain Dew, canciferous drugs. Hi, Tarita. Even though you called me Ken, I still love you. So right away we're going to be using some bottles like this, and you can find the information to get these kind of supplies in the description box below. I'll leave you the links for places that you can get stuff. So if you want to support the channel, and I do hope that if you enjoy this, give me a big thumbs up before you forget about it, or a big thumbs up as you're leaving, so to let YouTube know and so that my content can be seen by more and more people. But if you want to support the channel, one way is by buying your supplies through the links that I post below through Amazon. I get a little teeny commission for anything that you purchase, and it doesn't cost you anything, so it's a win-win there. Another way to support the channel, if you like the content here and you want this to keep going, would be to join us on the Patreon platform, patreon.com/qualitycrafts. One other way that you can do that is by shopping at our stores. Our original store is qualitycrafts.com. And the new store is jensqualitycrafts.com. No apostrophes or anything like that. Crunched together, all one word. So you're going to need bottles today, a plier to get your inks out. I grabbed, and I don't have this labeled. I just assume a lot of you guys have this kind of stuff. Any kind of washi tape or like a masking tape. A marker so that you can label what you're doing, and then a couple of markers. We're going to start out by doing Tarita says, sorry Jen, my nails are too long. I already hit the thumbs up. Whoop! Thank you so much. Hearts to you for thumbsing up. I'm going to start by showing you how to do DIY alcohol inks. Now, I'm not a total I love those little koala bears you guys do. I'm not an expert at creating alcohol inks, but it really doesn't take much. And so I started out by making 3 alcohol inks. Mine are the primary colors, and I'm going to show you how to do it, but I'm going to show you what it ended up looking like. I used Crayola. Crayola are not alcohol-based markers. They're water-based markers. And all I did was just pull out the insides of the marker, put it inside, fill this maybe 1/3 to a half full, so it's not full. The less water or the less alcohol you put in it, the more concentrated your color will be. So just so you know that's why these are not full. I really tried to keep it kind of low to make sure that I would get a more solid color. And you'll see how they turn out. We will be experimenting with these. So I just want to give you a way to do this. Now, I also want to see what happens if we use an actual alcohol marker. This is an alcohol marker. It's Baby Blue by Ohuhu. So the Ohuhu markers that I really love and I share all the time, I'm hoping that either Susan or Penny can link you guys to my Amazon page. I actually have an Amazon page full of tons of products that I highly recommend. One of them is these Ohuhu markers. They come out to be like 50 cents a piece, and they are alcohol markers just as good as Spectrum Noir and Copic markers. You just have to get used to how they are. The same with any kind of supply that you get. Anyway, this came from one of those, and these are what those markers look like. Actually, these are Huhu Heroes, but Ohuhu and Huhu Hero and Sioux Color, they're all basically the same exact marker. So here are 3 of them, and I'm doing basically the primary colors, but they're a little bit lighter because I didn't have straight out red, yellow, and blue. So I'm doing pastel yellow, what they call pastel yellow, baby blue, and what does that say? Carmine. So these are the 3 colors that we're going to do today. Yeah, I turned off the instant, the autofocus again, because even though it helps you see these, it just goes bump, bump, bump all the time, and it makes people crazy. So I'm going to go ahead, and the first thing we're going to start out with is if you don't have alcohol inks, how can we make them? This is how we're going to do it. I already have my 3 Crayolas, but just so that you guys can see how it's done with a Crayola marker, because those are the cheapest and readily available markers, I think. Alcohol ink refills work, Copic ink refills, Spectrum Noir refills, because they're all alcohol based, those all work, yes. There are different brands. So I'm going to make one out of this purple because I think the purple is really cool. So I just took off the cap. This is Crayola. Let me just make sure that I think we're in far enough. I'm just going to pull out the nib. I just twist and pull. It's actually attached to something else, the whole base in there, so I just rip it off like that. And then grab onto this and start pulling it out. Or did I do the bottom end? I can't remember, because I've done both of them. Whichever end is the one that comes apart. That's the one, yeah, the end. This end. And twist it, instead of twisting it around, if you toggle it like back and forth, how can I show you that? Toggle it back and forth this way as you're lifting, it'll start coming out. Sometimes my grip is not all that great. And just pull it until that end pops out. And then I just try to reach in with this and grab that inner piece. Do you see that? The whole thing comes out, and then you can just pop this back in here and put the cover on, and you can throw this shell away unless you want to use it as a straw or clean it out or use it for something else. The next thing we're going to do is, where did I hide my little cutter on myself? You need a blade. There it is. I have my little one out. No wonder why I was looking for my big pink one. But I have several of these. Make sure that it's tightened so it doesn't come out on ya. And then I just hold it with the pliers while I cut into the side, because the alcohol or the ink is inside of this plastic thing. There's like a sheeting around the ink where it's housed, and this helps it come out better. And then I just take my plier and I just apply it on the edge of my paper towel to get off any of the residual color. Same with my X-Acto, I just wipe it off, especially if you're switching colors to a lighter color. And then just put this in. Use your pliers and then wipe your pliers off. That way if you don't use your fingers, it won't be messy at all. Like, I don't have to get dirty at all to do this. So after you get that in there, like I said, don't fill the whole darn thing, because if you do, your color is going to be that much more washed out. So I would recommend about 1/3 to 1/2. You can go even less. You can go like 1/4 or 1/5 of that. Just be really careful that you don't add too much, because the more alcohol you add, the less solid that color is going to be. So I want that to be pretty dark. So I'm going to go ahead and plop this back in here. Alright, you can already see, I have a bubble in this container. You can already see it turning a light purple. See that? I'm just going to go ahead and swirl it around in there. Eventually that long core will turn like a real white color all the way around, because all the ink will soak out of it. And you see it's already turning a real deep purple. I'm going to set that aside. And I'm going to show you one of the Hoo Hero markers. This is how dark this blue went. That is super dark. And we're going to be playing with that. I'm going to do 2 more of the alcohol inks, which are the Hoo Hero, or the Ohuhu, or the Soup color markers, are all the same kind of marker. Hey, Penny. Thank you so much for being here and posting the links as we need them. And then I'm going to go ahead and label mine with a little bit of washi tape. You can use whatever you have. Cheap masking tape works really great too. That way I won't forget like where I got that color from. Maybe not today, but a week down the road I'll be like, oh, I'll remember that. And then I pick it up and go, I don't remember what I put in there. So this one is Crayola Purple. Alright, and I'm going to put that with my other Crayolas, because in a little bit when we're done talking about the alternative stuff, we're going to get into playing around with this and seeing how it works. I know some of you are going, but Jen, aren't you going to show us how the real stuff works? Yes, I am. That's why it's a series. Today, I really wanted, I toggled back and forth. I thought, okay, are they going to want to see how all the inks work and then be sitting there feeling sad that they don't have anything to use? Should I start with the alternatives first? And I bounced it off a couple of people, and that's what we decided was the best way to approach it. Go ahead and use the alternatives first, so that everyone can play along, and then we'll get into the real stuff. We'll play around with the real stuff, and then we'll get into what are the techniques and things that you can do with it. What can you like turn it into and use it to make, and then what can you use it to create in the end? How can you make a card out of that? How can you make it look even cooler? That kind of stuff. So that's coming up. That's why I've been so excited about this. Alright, so these are a little bit more difficult, I think. Not by much, but this little gray cap seems to be harder to get off. So I'm going to go ahead and pull out the nibs. And I'm going to put them into the jar right away. So there's 2 little nibs on these, and you just plop them into the jar. And then you have to get this part right here off. This is like one whole piece, I believe, and this gray piece comes off. But again, you want to toggle it back and forth and maybe just twist it all the way around. It took me a minute to get my other one off too. So this might take a bit. There we go. Eventually it does just come right off. And pull it out of there. All this stuff can be thrown away if you're not going to use it for anything else. I like to wipe off my colors. And then we're going to go right in. There's 40 watching today. If you guys are really interested in this, and this is something you think is totally fun, tag a friend. Go in one of your groups and tag a friend, or go into a group and say, hey guys, this is going on right now. See if we can get a few more people in here to watch today. I think this is going to be really fun. So I got the whole thing in there. This, when you cut the ones for the Sue color, the Sue color, the oh hoo hoo, that's fibrous stuff just comes flying out of there when you cut it. So weird. But same steps, and then you're going to put alcohol in there. Straight alcohol. Alright. A third to a half or a quarter, depending on, you know, where you want this to fall. I am using 91% isopropyl alcohol. Okay? And just as I picked this up to tell you, Penny put in a question. Hi, Penny Souther. So 91% isopropyl alcohol. You don't need anything fancier than that. Okay, so there we go. Look at that. Stuff is just coming right out of that marker. Ugh. That might be a little tough getting out later. But here's the blue one. The blue one didn't as fall apart as much as the yellow one did. So let's go ahead and label this right away so I don't forget what this is. I feel like I'm talking with a lisp. Since I got rid of that thing and got my two front teeth, it feels weird not to have that big old piece of plastic up underneath my teeth now. So this one is, I'm just going to write that it's Ohuhu. And it's not yellow, what's it called? Baby yellow? Pastel yellow. Alright. And then I'm going to do one that is similar to red. So we're going to hit that one next. Again, I'm going to just pull out the two nibs, pop them in my jar, and then go to town on this cap. Just at some point it just kind of lets loose, and then it's super easy to get out. Okay, and in goes the red, and this one is like, this one's falling apart like the yellow one did. So I want to be careful with that okay, here we go. Get that in there all the way. Wipe mine off and then fill it with alcohol. Forget to recap your cutter there so you don't cut yourself later on. And this one was called Carmine, and it was supposed to be kind of a red, but it really looks more like an orange to me. I'm okay with that. Okay, and then we're going to label this one. So So we've got another gal, let's see, who's it? Penny Southern mixed hers in Dixie cups with Sharpies and let them sit overnight. And she said the colors were beautiful. This is called Carmine. Yep. Okay, so these have only been sitting here for a little while, and look how dark they're getting already, especially that blue. I might actually go get another red, just because I really wanted that to be red. The yellow and the blue look awesome. And here are the 4 Crayola colors. Now, the purple is super dark, if you look at it. And these 3 colors have been sitting for like 2 days. The purple color we just made today. But there's a lot of pigment in there. They look pretty dark. These could probably stand to sit overnight, but they definitely have color. We're going to go ahead and use them. Wow, look at them. Those seem to have leaked a lot faster. That's awesome. So we did these. I'm just going to go ahead and get rid of those. And put these in front of me so that I can see what I'm working with here. So as far as things go with the inks, this is the best way that I have found to create your inks. Like Penny said, she did hers with Dixie cups. I'm not saying that you can't do any other way. This was just the easiest, simplest for me. I already had the bottles, I already had the markers, and I wanted to start out with something that I already had. So I recommend that you do the same thing. Use what you have, especially if you're on a tight budget that you don't have to run out and buy anything. I had Crayolas sitting around forever, so I just went ahead and used my Crayolas. The next thing that's really big for this would be mixing these things with alcohol versus the alcohol or the blending solution. So you can do pretty much everything with just this plain 91% isopropyl alcohol. You don't need or have to buy the blending solution. However, there are things that the blending solution does that are specific to its properties that the alcohol will not do. And we'll get into that later on. I'm not going to get into that discussion tonight. But these are the 2 things that I'm talking about. And actually, I should probably go back and be a little bit more specific about this stuff. This is an alcohol ink by Ranger, by Tim Holtz, and they look a little bit different than they used to. Do I have an older version here? They used to have like a little Adirondack symbol on them. Let's see if I can find an older one. Yeah, they used to look like this, with the little mountains and the Adirondack on there. They actually look like this now. They look a lot more dangerous now, I think. There's like this little fire and exclamation point and cross and bones. So basically this stuff is really harmful. It's irritating. You can't swallow it. It even goes so far as to say that you shouldn't even get this on your skin. Although I see people get this stuff on their skin all the time. These are plastic bottles, and so are the ones that I mixed mine in. They are not glass, they're plastic. These are also plastic. They're like squeezy bottles. So this is what we did, was we just created inks like this in here. And so you can tell that the ink in here is really concentrated, and ours are not quite. So we probably will not, I know for a fact, that we will not get the bold colors that you would get with the straight out alcohol inks. And that's okay. We're gonna practice with what we have first, give you an idea of how this goes, so that if you are really excited about it, then the next week we will show you the real stuff, the alcohol blending solution, that kind of stuff. We'll get into more of the things that you can do with it, and then you can decide for yourself whether or not you want to go and buy more of the stuff. By Crayola, I mean the actual markers. If you missed the beginning, Sandy, you can go back. We actually used a Crayola marker to create one of our are things right here. You definitely cannot use crayons because they are made out of wax. It's a completely different principle than what these are made out of. The Crayola markers are water-based markers, and we just added a whole ton of alcohol to them to make the pigment from the marker into an alcohol spray or an alcohol ink. These ones that we did from Ohuhu, same idea. We used the alcohol ink from the marker to create an alcohol ink outside the marker that we can spray and drip on. The purple is also, the purple we did, yeah, the purple, thanks Susan, the purple was the one that we did just now, and I used an actual Crayola marker. Okay, so that was, so right now we're talking alternatives. These are alternatives to the inks. Your alcohol is going to be your alternative to the alcohol blending solution. This you can find practically anywhere. It's really cheap. And then the other, let me see my list of things that I wanted to go over. Now, Yupo paper can be really expensive, and it comes in really small pieces. That's okay, Sandy, no problem. I'm glad to help. So I'm going to show you a little bit of Yupo paper. And then I'm going to show you the brand of paper that I found that will also work. So this is Yupo paper. And it doesn't have, I don't have the actual, like, package stuff that it came in. But this is what it looks like. It's a synthetic paper. Just make sure I only got one sheet here. And it's relatively thick. And when you try to rip it, you can't. You can cut it, you can die cut it, you can color it, you can, I think you could color pencil and marker and all kinds of stuff on it. I think you can use food coloring, Tina. I like the idea that you came up with that. Food coloring and then mix that with alcohol. Yes, that would be a really, really cool idea. Let me know if you do use that. I would love to hear more about it if that worked out for you. So it doesn't rip. Do I have two pieces here? No. And it's kind of thick and it's opaque. You don't see through it. Okay, and this is the best kind to use. But like I said, you can die cut it, you can punch it, you can do all that kind of stuff, you can cut it, you just can't rip it. So I was out to find alternatives for the Yupo paper because like I said, they can be expensive. And I can't remember how much it is. Maybe Penny can help me out with that. It was, you got pieces like this big, what is it, 5 by 7, and you got like 10 pieces of it for $15 or something like that. And they're little. So I'm not sure, but if you don't want to splurge on the Yupo, you can also get, and now it's going to space me how much I paid for this Duralar. But Duralar, I'm going to show you what this one looks like because I bought this one on Amazon, and I played around with it so that I can make sure to give you guys a really good idea of whether or not this works. Let me back out just a bit here. It's a big thing here. Okay, so Duralar, this is what it's called. It says the acetate alternative. And there's a bunch of different kinds of this, so you want to make sure that if you get it, that you get the matte film. And this one you get 25 sheets of 9 by 12, which is way bigger. And I think it was either the same price or a little bit less even. So this was easier. Oh, $10 for 10 sheets, so it was $1 a sheet. The Duralar was cheaper and you get much bigger sheets. 9 by 12 instead of 5 by 7. How about egg dyes? How about egg dyes what? Tarita, finish your sentence. Help me get a little bit more exact about what you're asking so that I can help you out with that. So this is what the Duralar looks like. Let's compare it to the Yupo. It's definitely not opaque, but it's not something you can rip because it says the acetate alternative, but acetate rips, right? Not the thick plastic that you would get. This is more like a vellum. Let's say this, to me, this would be like a vellum replacement. But it's just like Yupo, and then it doesn't rip, but you can still cut it and die cut with it and all that kind of stuff. And this is the difference. But say you get a lighter color on here because it's not quite as white, you can always put a white background to it and it'll brighten up the colors just that much. We're going to get into that too. We've got a lot more time here. I know we do. We're going to play around with the inks and I'm going to show you how things turn out. We're going to be using Yupo paper and the Duralar with our alternative stuff. And I have one more alternative to the Yupo paper if you don't want to go out and buy the Duralar. I bet you guys have some of this glossy cardstock or photo paper, specifically photo paper, where you see mine is HP. You can see it real lightly where it's been stamped HP. I've seen tons of people use the front glossy side, and I haven't gotten an excellent, is it like Mylar? When I think Mylar balloons, and the Mylar on those balloons, that's like a really super thin, it may be a plastic, I don't know, but it's super thin like tissue paper. So I don't think it's the same as Mylar. But going back to this kind of stuff, we use the back of the paper. I found out that works a lot better. Okay, so Penny brought that up. It's $14.50 for 25 sheets of the 9x12, which is a much better deal in my opinion. So Duralar is a really good one to get. Otherwise, use the backs of your photo paper. So we're going to use those three things, Yupo paper, Duralar, and the back of photo paper, and see what kind of results we get. We're going to be using the isopropyl alcohol as an alternative to the blending solution. And then our DIY inks as an alternative to the actual alcohol inks. And what else am I missing? Let's see. Somebody else already mentioned too that if you don't want to use Crayolas or Ohuhus like that, you can use Sharpies or Bic Markets as well. I'm just catching up a little bit on what's going on in the chat here. Okay, let's go ahead and use the actual Yupo paper first and see what happens. The alcohol inks are made so that you can screw off the top and drip it on. And since I have mine in spray bottles, I'll be taking the cap off. And I'm going to bring you guys much closer so you can see what's going on. Okay, and I'll try not to get a big shadow in your way. Alright, and I'm going to try to just drip some on. There we go. I also have some alcohol, this same alcohol right here in this bottle, so that I can drip some out so that I don't have to pour it from that big gargantuan thing. And then I'm going to put some in there. Some straight isopropyl alcohol right there into my drips. And then we'll see if we can get them to move around a bit. And they do. So let's go ahead and put on some more colors. There's droppers and things that you can use too. Go ahead and use droppers. I have a few here, but not a lot. That's okay. Put some drips of alcohol on there. You can spray it too. Some people don't like to spray alcohol because you're going to be breathing it in. Make sure you're in a well-ventilated area. You can even use a face mask if you feel like that. One thing I do want to mention, that when we get into using this kind of stuff, this cannot be sprayed. Never, ever, ever, never, ever spray the alcohol blending solution from something like this. Always drip it or pour it on, because this, straight from Tim Holtz's mouth, I was watching one of his videos, he said this will it will sit on your lungs. It'll coat your lungs, so you don't ever want to spray that. the straight up alcohol you can, but like I said, if you don't like it, then you go ahead and so you can see that all the little sprays are making all those fun little marks in there, and the colors can run together. We could even spray on the colors. Right now I'm just using the Crayolas. I just want to show you how they run and how they go over on the Yupo paper. Look at the fun stuff it does when it runs. Okay, so those were a couple of the Crayola. Let's go ahead and do a little bit of the red Crayola. So if you use any of these on a watercolor paper, because that stuff is meant to be saturated, what happens, it's just like cardstock basically. When you put the ink on the watercolor paper, it's just gonna get sucked into it, and then it's just gonna get sucked in and it's not gonna move anywhere. It's like the shiny plasticky part is what makes it move around. So we're going to turn a heat gun on this if we can get a layer that's dried up. This stuff does withstand heat. Just if you get it really, really close, it will buckle. I'll show you in a piece right here. I did a flower on purpose, and that did buckle with the heat, just so you know. Okay. I got a little buckle on the side here because I got too close. I just want to make sure that. So this looks really different once everything has dried up. Look how pretty. And then you can go ahead back in with the alcohol. And can you see as those little droplets of alcohol land on there, what happens to it? Do you see the little marks? So much fun. And like every single time that you go over this, you're going to get a different look. You're going to get a different color combination. You want to bring in your heat gun or anything like that, and you can do all kinds of different stuff with it. And I'm not going to get into a lot of like techniques today. I just wanted to show you a little bit what you could do and all of the alternatives so that you could get started doing some of this right away, so you don't have to break the bank doing it. You can always go in and like just run the alcohol through it. One other thing I want to show you is that I had one of these that was completely dried up by Stampin' Up. What do they call it? It's just a blender pen. And so what I did was I put my alcohol in here by just pulling the nibs out of the end and then filling it with alcohol. So that if I wanted to go in and make myself some designs, and you just wipe it off on some kind of surface you have next to you, and it clears it out. This is a great alternative to using, can't believe I didn't remember this before. This is a great alternative to using the alcohol blending ink blending pen. But this ink blending pen is made to go with the alcohol blending solution. So this is what goes in this pen. This pen comes completely empty, so it's up to you what you want to put in there. If you don't want to buy the alcohol solution, you could fill it with alcohol if you wanted to. You could fill it with an ink if you wanted to, but if you fill it with an ink, it's that color forever. So this was my way of creating one of these. And this was completely dried up, so there was nothing left in it. So I can go ahead in with this alcohol now and just kind of take off ink and create designs in it if I want to. And then you can go in with this too after it's dried and make your own circles. Let's say you want to make a pattern of circles and you want to be really specific about it. You can go back in with this kind of a pen, because if you drip the alcohol on, you don't really have a say in where that goes. Another thing that you can use if you don't have one of these is you can use a stylus. And you can make a little puddle. Maybe put a little puddle of alcohol on your mat, on your craft mat. Dip that in there, and then you can make little circles. If you do it this way though, you don't have as much control. Do you see how this one's bleeding already right into that other one? Because I had so much alcohol on the end of that. The more alcohol you put on it, the more it's going to continue to spread out. So if I put some alcohol on there, it's a moving. See that one right there? I drip that on, it is just moving. Let me go ahead and put some over here. And that one, look, that one just continued to spread. It just keeps moving. A lot of this is because we're on the Yupo paper, right? It's made to do that. So let's go ahead and move this off to the side and do something similar with the Duralar. So this is the same kind of thing, only it's not opaque. And I'm going to still stick with the Crayola ones. I'm not going to move to the Ohuhu ones until we have a chance to check these guys out. I'm going to do, I think I'm going to do a couple of sprays of each color of the primaries and we'll just see what we get. This Duralar can also withstand some heat. So if you wanted to do some stamping on here, if you wanted to do some embossing, you could still do that too. So let's go ahead and tap some on there. See if we can get that same look. Yep. You'll notice that these colors aren't quite as vibrant, although the blue really turned out nicely. You can keep going over and over and moving this again and again if you don't like what you got. This will continue to move and blend. So we always get the question, can we use a hairdryer? It just came up. You can use a hairdryer if you're just going in to dry something. If you're going in to emboss something or do that kind of technique, a hairdryer will not work. It'll just blow everything all around. So if you're going to use a blow dryer because you don't have a heat gun yet, you might want to tape down the piece that you're working on. And in that case, if you're just drying something, you could try that. But make sure you tape it down because it'll blow it all over the place. This one, I post, see, look, it even says on the side of this, this is not a hairdryer, intended for craft use only. I already went and put all of the stuff that I'm using in the next few videos in this series in the Quality Crafts Facebook group. This is different. This dryer that I'm using right now, it's a heated craft tool. Right here it says. That is different than this kind of a heat gun. This kind of a heat gun will blow a lot harder than this one, and it will blow things all over the place. So if I turn this on, it's blowing it across the page. If I turn this one on, it's going to blow it a little bit, but not as much. Okay, so I wanted you guys to know the difference in that. I love this little heat gun because this little craft tool moves things around slightly, but gives me a lot more control over just drying things. Cool, right? So like I said, even this is really comparable to the Yupo paper. And if you're thinking, well, that's kind of light, if you back it on a piece of white paper, it'll look that much brighter. See the difference? And the more you layer up the ink, the darker of a color you can get, and that's Yupo paper. This is Duralar. Okay. Now let's try the same kind of ink. We're going to go over today, I know we are. Let's try the same 3 inks from the Crayola that we created on the back, not the front glossy side of the picture paper, the photo paper, but the back side, and see what kind of what kind of mixing we get with this side. Hi, Lori. Hope you guys, cheers, are enjoying the time here. Okay. This blue is really crazy full. I love that. And we'll do a little bit of red. So this is the back of photo paper. Look at how cool it already looks with all the little speckles and stuff. And look, it's gonna run. So you can mix colors. Add some alcohol. I love the little marks it makes. Do you see that spray? So cool. I'm just going to drag my stylus through it so you can see how it blends. It's beautiful. Look at that. So cool, and it's still running because we have a lot of alcohol in there. Sometimes if I start to get just a lot of brown, I dab it off. Like I said, if you don't like the way that looks, you add a little bit more alcohol and move it around, and you can get a totally different look. This is why I say it's so addicting, because you can say like, oh, I don't really like that. This is still wet. I think I'm going to go back in and try to, you know, get another look. And check it out. There's another little look. And we got some more different purples in there, and greens, and like this green and this blue kind of almost made a turquoise up in the corner. And it's so pretty. And this is cheap. This paper, this printer paper, like photo paper, this is HP, I think. I see this at Goodwill all the time. Stacks and stacks of it for super cheap, because people don't really do that anymore. Everything's so digital, right? So go out and get yourself a bunch of this, because this is going to save you a lot of money. I think that is really cool. Let's look at the difference now. This is the back of photo paper, the back side. And by the way, you can't, once you add your alcohol inks, if you look, you're going to be really hard pressed to see the stamps of the brand. Do you see on here where you can see the stamps of the brand? We pretty much covered that up with our ink. So don't worry too much about that. So that's the back of photo paper. This is the Duralar. And like I said, you can put it on white, like a back white of a back card, so that you can get a brighter color if you want. And we really watered this down, so we could even add more pigment to that if we wanted to. And this is the Yupo paper. Oh, good. Tracy says you can get photo paper at the Dollar Tree, too. I didn't even know. Our Dollar Tree doesn't carry half the stuff I swear other people can do. So let's go back to this Duralar. And let's change this. Let's say this is dry now, but I'm not really satisfied with it. I think I'm going to go in and do a little bit of changing here. So, let's say I want to do, I didn't get much purple. So I'm going to go in between the blue and red, and I'm going to put a little bit of purple in here. And maybe a little bit of red over here. Look at that, just spraying that on made some really awesome textures. Do you see that? That's really cool. This is already making some really cool stuff. Let's go ahead and just spread this out a bit. Don't worry about getting this really dark ridge. I'm going to show you later on in the series something really fun that you can do with that. Looks like my purple just basically dried up and stayed right there. That purple turned out amazing. Seems like red is the hardest color to really get to stay like red. So I'm going to put some more alcohol on here. And then I'm going to pull out one of my little droppers here. I'm going to drop in some yellow. So what happens when you drop a color on top of another color, do you see even the yellow on top of the purple, the color that you drop on the top like takes precedence over all the other colors? It is super cool. This is why I don't have a dropper for all my colors. This is why I haven't been using them. But the droppers are super fun. I'll save that one specifically for my yellow. Remember that you got alcohol in these, so if you're going to be doing this for a while, you can leave the caps off, but make sure you put the caps back on, because otherwise you'll be sad that everything will dry out. Look at the difference in that. Now we're starting to build up some heavier layers. I'm gonna do just a quick... Cannot remember where I got the dropper from, but they linked below. You'll find actually linked below in the next series, or in the group, in the Quality Crafts group, you'll find some of them linked to Amazon if you want to look. There might be some at a dollar store. I'm not really sure. Oh, Penny's. Who is it? Oh, she said you could get them where they sell scented oils too. Look around, see where you can find them. Otherwise, we'll have some link to Amazon if you can't find the ones you're looking for. A toothbrush is really fun to do this too, where you just flick the toothbrush and then you get some really fun looking. This one is really starting to turn out cool. And eventually, if you get it really thick, when you tilt it, do you see where it still looks wet? Eventually it'll look wet, but it'll actually be dry because you'll have a really thick layer. We'll get into that a little bit later too. I do want to go over, let's go ahead and just use a back of one of these again. Back of photo paper. Because I want to go ahead and try these Ohuhu markers and see if this makes any difference. We're going to do this as like Ohuhu versus Crayola. So first let's do the baby blue. Oh, it's definitely a baby blue. The pastel yellow. And the carmine, which was kind of a red, but looked a little bit orange. Uh-oh, I might have a faulty plug here. No worries. Let's grab another one. Pretty sure we have several of them extra. So these bottles you can get on Amazon, and they send you a couple of extra tops too, just in case, which is super nice because you never know. Oh my. Holy cow, look at that. You don't have to add as much as I do and make it run like that if you don't like that look. You can just drip drop it all over the place too. You could do one that's completely drip dropped and that's it. Look at the neat stuff this did though. When I finish drying with it, I'm going to point out a couple of things. Ooh, I got some nice tunnels with this one too. Okay, these were made with actual alcohol markers, but they were made with ones that are a lot more like pastel looking. Yes, we're going to put these on cards, so stick around for the series. This is number 1. This is Inks and Yupo paper series, but this is the one called DIY Alcohol Inks and Alternative Products. So this was just, tonight's free play was to show you what you could do to be able to do this kind of stuff on your own right now without having to go out and buy a bunch of stuff. So look at that. All this like mottled look, that's different than what you'll get from some of the alcohol inks. This tunneling is really cool. Where it all just, and this is dry. This is all dry here in the middle. So cool. I really love the way the alcohol inks worked. I mean, I like them both for different reasons, but these are the alcohol ones, not the these are not the ones that were made with I know what I want to say, the Crayola markers. Let's go ahead and just spit some of this on here and see what we get. It's even doing something different with the alcohol. Do you see that? Like it's almost giving us different colors. And I guarantee every time you play with this stuff, you're going to get something different. This is another one. Let's see if our marker works on this. Oh yeah. Look at that. So you can make all kinds of different patterns, circles, drawings. You could personalize a card front with somebody's name on it if you wanted. I really like that. That is super cool. So that was the back of it with the alcohol inks that we DIY'd. So if you're just coming in now, we went over how to make DIY inks. We went over alternative supplies to the normal supplies that you would use if you were doing alcohol inks on Yupo paper. So you want to go back and watch the rest of the video for that. This is the very first in this series, Annette. Thank you for saying that. Penny, this is the first one. I'm not sure. Did I miss part of the conversation? I don't want to butt in if I'm wrong. Yes, this is the very first of the series. So let's go ahead and try one of the Duralar papers with the alcohol ones. I'm going to go ahead and just remove this paper towel for now so that you're not seeing that color bleeding through. Okay. Let's try these again. Let's see if we can just do some drips of these and see how far they spread. You can keep adding dots to it, and it should just keep spreading the more you put on there. We'll see. One dot spreads. But yeah, get droppers, because droppers are really fun. Just dropping them on is super fun. And if we drop the blue into the red, ooh, that one didn't do much. There we go. Maybe I didn't have enough ink on there. Is that clear to you guys? It looks fuzzy on my end. This Duralar paper, I had never heard of it either. I was looking for alternatives to Yupo paper, and this stuff is, it says, a high-performance polyester film. But honestly, all you really need is something that is like plastic. You could do this on glass, you can do this on ceramic, windows, mirrors, that kind of thing. Yeah, I feel like it's a little fuzzy too. I keep trying to figure out what I can do to make this clear up. Look at that. It's still very wet. You can see how shiny it is. When I add just that little bit of heat, some of the colors change. Some of the colors change color. Some of the ink spreads out a little bit further. So that's what you actually get if you put it on white. That's pretty. Let's do a little bit more blue. See, now if we were to do some bright... This is spraying out like a butterfly. Do you see that? How cool is that? And every time you go in, you're going to get something different. Every time you add more, you're going to get something different. And it will eventually warp. It is kind of like a heavy vellum. Feel free to try things that you have laying around your house. Like somebody just said, Pam just said, how about a heavy vellum? Try it out, see what happens. As long as it's not like a porous surface like a paper or color or, you know, like a paper towel, something that's going to soak it up. As long as it's like a plasticky kind of a top, it should work out well. Let's see how long this will take if I put this really close before it gives. I'm doing this corner right here. That's a long time. That is not giving at all. So if you have this type of a heat tool, it will definitely stand up to that. Didn't it? It sprayed. It looks like butterflies. It's sprayed in like a butterfly pattern. Ooh, Penny says vellum works great stained glass look. I'm going to bring in my other heat gun here and see what happens when I go down on this corner right here. Alright, there you go. How long was that? Less than 30 seconds, and it buckled. So if you want to get one, if you want the heat gun that's not going to buckle your paper, although that could be a really cool look too, don't get me wrong. You want to get yourself one of these by Tim Holtz, by Ranger. Heat It Craft Tool. These are awesome. So that buckled with my heavy duty heat gun. So the only paper we didn't try with these was the Yupo. And I don't have it. Where's my other piece? Did we try? I think we tried everything that I had hoped that we would get. Let's bring these back in then. Where's that one that I did with the... Here we go. Should have wrote on them what they were. So these were the first three we did with the Crayolas. And they're gorgeous. I really like this one. I mean, I like them all for different reasons, but... So this one, let me write them down for you. That way we can pull them out later too. This is actually the Yupo. And so you would cut out of here what you wanted for the frame on your card. You don't have to use the whole thing. Let's say I got a little black on there and I don't like the look of that, so I'm just going to cut around it. This is the Duralar. And this is actually just photo paper. Oh, and I should say with Crayola. Crayola Markers DIY Inks. I'm going to just /C. And then we'll know that's Crayola. If you don't have a heat gun, you just let it sit till it dries. Alcohol dries pretty fast. You could even put it in front of a fan if you wanted to. If you don't spray the heck out of it like I did and make it super, super wet and like drip it and roll it, it should dry within like 10 to 15 seconds if you just put on light coats. It shouldn't take real long. And then this was the Duralar with the, I'm just going to put OH. And this one is, this one's the glossy, or the photo paper, whatever you want to put, and I'm going to put OH for Ohuhu. So even our DIY inks worked out really well with these three different things. So if I pull this one out and I pull this one out, here's one that I did with, is this the Yupo? I think it is. Do you see the difference? If you set it out, Tina, for just overnight, you'll know for sure that they're going to be dry. I mean, alcohol is going to dry super fast anyways, so. These are actual alcohol inks. These are DIY. Two different kinds of paper, though. But anyway, you've got something to look forward to because we are going to dive right into this. Let people know that if they missed out on the beginning, that they can find, I'm just going to toss this one that didn't work, that they can find the beginning of the series if they want to know how to make the DIY stuff and what other alternative stuff they can do to save money and be able to do this fun technique at home. And, oh, here, I need this one. And we'll be back again next Friday for another Friday free play where we do week 2. And you'll have to stay tuned to see what happens with that. It's going to be super fun. We will be playing with The Real Deal. I may do a little bit back and forth depending on what people are looking for and if they want to see more of what we did with the DIY stuff. Maybe we'll pull it out and see if that, you know, letting these sit even longer makes any of a difference. I don't think it will with the Crayola because these have been sitting for a couple of days. And as you can see, the tips, the little nibs are white. They're completely white. There's no more ink that's going to come into that, or I should say come out of that. This one has ink left in it. Even though it looks pretty white to you guys, if you could see the inside of the core, there's still some color that'll come out of these yet. Even the blue. So eventually you could pull those out of your bottle, or you can leave them in. It really doesn't matter. Awesome, so I hope that you guys had a lot of fun today. We went a little bit over, my apologies. I try to stick to about an hour, but I've never really said outward that it would be from 5 to 6. It's just kind of like on my channel, it's about an hour on Free Play Fridays, just depends. If we're having a super awesome time, it may be even more than an hour. I've had a really good time with this. I hope you guys have too. Again, remember that you can do these kind of things with a lower budget. You just have to look around, see what you can find for that kind of stuff. Give me a thumbs up on the way out if you really enjoyed this. There's 42 people watching, so I hope we get 42 thumbs up. If not, let me know what's going on, what I can do better, what I can improve on, that kind of stuff. And we will be back next Friday with number 2 in the series, and I cannot wait to see you guys next video.